You can dig out of months of task pileup in just a few days, not with more discipline, not with more motivation, but with a system built for handling chaos. If you have ADHD and you currently feel like you're just buried under a mountain of unfinished tasks, half written to do lists, and things you actually just can't even remember anymore, then this video is your way out. Before we get into everything, if you have ADHD or you suspect that you have ADHD, and you need a quick reset, but you don't know where to start, I created something that can help. It's called the 5 Minute Reset Checklist, and it's a step by step guide for tackling one small piece of chaos in under 5 minutes. And so you can just get rid of some visual noise and give your mind and your space some peace. It's free and it's linked in the description below. So I know what a task pileup feels like because I have lived it multiple times. I would frequently find myself with notes and things to do scattered across a million different notebooks, my phone notes, sticky notes, and just a bunch of random documents on my computer. And the more it piled up, the more paralyzing it felt, which in turn caused me to procrastinate on dealing with it, which meant the pile just kept growing. What finally got me out of the cycle was a specific step by step process built for how my mind works and what I can handle. And that process is exactly what I'm going to talk you through today. How to dig out of the pileup, get your priorities handled in just a couple of days, and how to set yourself up moving forward so that the pileup doesn't come back as easily. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and something that you can take notes with because we're going to start with step one right now. Step one is the complete brain dump. And you can't really do this effectively until you get everything out in the open. So it's really important that you don't skip this step. Block out a couple of hours to write down every single thing that is currently piled up. That could be unanswered texts or emails, buying something that you really need, cleaning or organizing activities, planning that vacation that you've booked, finally finishing an application that you need to fill out for something important, appointments that you really need to book, paying certain bills, canceling subscriptions, whatever it may be. What you're doing by getting everything down is just closing all of these open loops in your mind. Because when you have all this random information just swirling around up there, it steals way too much energy. It steals focus that you really need for a lot of other things that are in front of you right now, and it just slows you down. And now isn't really the time to try to determine what is and isn't important at the moment. Just focus on getting everything down. The goal right now is just to get it out of your mind instead of organizing it. And seeing it all in one place may feel really intimidating at first, but when it comes to these giant task piles, you can manage the stuff that you can see, but it is next to impossible to manage the stuff that you can't see in front of you. So the next step is condensing everything into one place. You can't really prioritize the things that you can't see all at once. So getting everything into one place is the thing that will make every step after this one possible. If your tasks are scattered across multiple to-do lists like sticky notes, phone notes, random documents, you need to merge them all into one location. That could be one notebook that you can easily find and reference. It could be one document that you can easily find, or anything else that works for you. But the rule is that everything just needs to be in one place so you can start to work with it. As you merge everything that's been scattered for a while, you'll notice that duplicates will show up. And that's normal, especially with ADHD, because it's really easy for us to get what we did and didn't address in the past, whether it was a while ago or even recently. When you do notice the duplicates, just delete them. And at this point, you won't have to remember what was written down because it's all going to be in the same place for now. After that, you'll want to categorize everything. You can't effectively process an endless list, but you can manage a few clear buckets. Sort this list into different life areas. Those areas could be called home, work, school, if that applies to you, health, finances, admin, social, errands, anything that is relevant to whatever's on your list. The categories you create should be broad enough so that pretty much anything that's on your list can comfortably fit into one of those categories. Don't overthink it. Don't oversplit categories. Do not create subcategories. And if you're just really pressed for time, or you need help with coming up with category names that are broad enough, consider dumping your to-do list into ChatGPT or Claude and have it spit out the categories for you. Seeing all these tasks grouped into different categories will just make the pile feel smaller and more logical. And visual containers can be a lot more helpful for those of us with ADHD. So now your task pile has structure, but structure isn't the same as direction. So you'll need to figure out what needs your attention first, which leads us to the next step, which is to separate things into priority or not priority. When everything feels equally urgent, nothing gets done. So, splitting your list into priority versus not priority is what turns confusion into a clear starting point. So, you're going to go to every single life category that you created, and within those categories, you should have a section that says priority and a section that says not priority. So examples of this would be home priority, home not priority, finances priority, finances not priority, admin priority, admin not priority, and so on. For items that are not priority, just move them to another place that you can look at down the road, but keep them in their original categories. And when you're trying to figure out whether something is or isn't a priority right now, ask yourself these questions. Does it have a real deadline? Are there consequences if this doesn't happen soon? Is it affecting your money, health, or your relationships right now? If the answer is yes to any of these, they should be in the priority section. If not, they go into the not priority section. And not priority doesn't mean never, it just means not this week. And after this step, you're no longer staring at everything all at once because you're only responsible for the priority pile, and that is a much easier load to carry. Step 5 is to make it nearly impossible to lose track of your priorities. With ADHD, your memory is not the most reliable storage system, so your priorities will need to live somewhere that your eyes will land on them every single day. Priority items need to go somewhere that is very, very easy to find. This is your main focus now. Those places could be a whiteboard, a pinned note on your phone, a pinned email to yourself, bookmarked in a physical notebook, wherever it is that works for you. Then order the priority list by urgency. The most urgent item goes at the top, the least urgent item goes to the bottom. And if you're stuck on determining the urgency level of one of these items, think about consequence severity. Ask yourself what happens if this doesn't get done this week. The answer will tell you which item should rank higher. Also, think about snowball potential. Does this task get worse or more expensive the longer it goes unaddressed? And also think about blocking potential. Does this incomplete item block me from doing another task? Because if there are three other things you can't do until this one is done, then this task is going to jump the line. And if two of the same tasks are equally as urgent, prioritize the task that will take a shorter amount of time to do. Knocking that out will shorten the list faster. And now the hardest thing won't be remembering what to do, it'll be actually doing it. The next step is breaking tasks down and adding time estimates. Things like time blindness can make it feel like every task will take forever, and some sort of estimates can give you the feeling of a boundary and a little bit of reassurance that you need to begin. A lot of the tasks that you do are a collection of smaller tasks, and it's really important to know what those tasks are. So, under the priority tasks, you want to write down the steps required to complete it, but only if the task overwhelms you. For example, deal with taxes becomes find documents, log into portal, fill out the form, and submit it. Book your dentist appointment becomes find the office number, check your calendar for open days, make the call, and add the appointment to your calendar. Renew your car registration becomes find the renewal notice, gather your documents, pay the fee online, and print the confirmation. But if a task is simple and the idea of doing it doesn't really stress you out that much, you can completely skip the breakdown. For the ones you do end up breaking down, after you select which task you're going to break down and you have everything sorted out, estimate how long each task will take. For the larger, more overwhelming tasks, you'll need to consider each broken down step when determining the duration for that task. With ADHD time blindness, there is a pretty good chance that your estimation will be off. But if you're worried about it, you can just add 10 to 15 minutes to the duration you estimated, and it'll just give you the feeling of a little bit more wiggle room. But regardless of all of that, the estimate is simply a tool and a guide, not set in stone. And now that everything's broken down with the time estimate next to it, you have everything you need for the best part of this whole process, which leads us to step 7, and that is creating your 2-day focus sprint. A lot of times, our ADHD minds work best with some sort of urgency and containment, and a 2-day sprint creates both of these things intentionally, instead of waiting for an actual final deadline for that feeling. Block off 2 full days, 3 days if possible, that are dedicated only to knocking out your priority tasks. Work through the high priority items in one category first, and then move to the high priority items in the next category, and avoid bouncing around. You'll want to use timers set for the duration you estimated for each specific task, just to avoid wasting too much time if you get distracted or lose focus during the process. During this 2-day sprint, pair the work that you're doing with something pleasant. So that cycle could look like set the timer, work, watch a few minutes of a show that you're hooked on or a good book that you really like, turn the timer on, work, and repeat. This reward pairing can just help you feel like you're getting a little bit of an energy boost and can make the sprint feel a bit more immediately rewarding and realistic for those of us with ADHD. By the end of your sprint, you'll most likely have made more progress in 2 days than you have in the past 2 months. And that's going to feel incredible. After the 2 day sprint, you'll want to schedule out any remaining priority tasks that you didn't get to during that time period. A task without some sort of due date will float around in your mind and stress you out, but a task that's on your calendar is one that you can more easily let go of and focus on what needs to be done right now. If you have any priority items remaining after your sprint, block off one more day. This day is not for completing the remaining items, it's for scheduling them out. You can schedule them in your calendar, some sort of planner that you naturally use, a reminder app with dates baked into it, or whatever other tool works best for you. And unless it's extremely urgent, you don't need to block off more entire full days to do them. You can schedule them out in a more normal, comfortable schedule that you usually follow anyway in your daily life. And with the leftovers scheduled now, you're officially out of pile up mode, and everything that remains is just part of a normal week. And the final step is handling new tasks and building your pile up prevention system. Digging out of task pile up this time means absolutely nothing in the long run if the pile just rebuilds itself the exact same way. So the next job is to just make sure all that work that you did actually means something moving forward. Here are some ways you can do that. Try to start processing new tasks that pop up the exact same way. Categorize it, assign it a priority level, and schedule it based on when it needs to be done by. You can also mix in any urgent new task into your existing schedule, but as priority items. You can also create a new, simple, ongoing system so that pileups happen less often. That could be a single capture spot, which is one designated place, whether that be a small notes app, a notebook, a whiteboard, where every single new task gets written down the second it enters your life so that things don't get so scattered as easily in the future. It can also be a weekly reset, and that could look like 15 to 30 minutes once a week just to categorize, prioritize, and schedule out new tasks that you've written down. It can also be a recurring admin hour where you set a time block for 1 hour a week to knock out the small annoying tasks before they really start adding up. The main goal of this is to permanently reduce the size and frequency of these task pileups you experience. And the system that you create to prevent these task pileups should be simple enough so that future you will actually use it. And all of that will be the difference between continuously cleaning up messes and breaking the cycle for good. So that is the full process. Brain dump everything, get it all into one place, categorize everything you wrote down, split your priorities, make it all visible, break them down, do the 2 day sprint, and then schedule the rest. So now, if you are in the middle of task pileup, or if you just happen to find yourself in one in the near future, you have a clear step by step plan you can follow to address it when you need to. And if you want a complete guide for turning a chaotic environment into an orderly environment and reclaiming your peace of mind when you feel stuck or overwhelmed by your space, you can grab the free 5 minute reset checklist that I mentioned earlier in this video, and the link to grab it is in the description below. If this video helped you and gave you some clarity, be sure to give it a like so it can get out to even more people who need this information. And I've got more ADHD systems videos that will build right on top of this one, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And stick around so you don't miss what's next.